Yo, what's up, guys? Back with another Omen fundamental video. This time I'm going to break down Lotus for you guys. But before I talk about Omen specific stuff, I think it's important to talk about the map, mainly how it's played on defense. Three bomb site maps can be difficult, and they're always going to be attack sided, right? You only have 5 defenders, you have 3 bomb sites. So naturally, one of the sites is always going to be weaker than the others, which means that teams are very likely to over rotate because it's very easy for people to on the extremities, or even maybe not the extremities, but the site that's weakest to feel pressured, right? And our natural instinct in this game is to help our teammates, ideally. So what does that mean? We need to come up with ways to play defense that allows us to rotate properly, right, and get the information to rotate properly, right? And how do you do that? Well, I think the biggest way to do that is to try to get some type of deep line on defense on the extremities. Okay, so let's just pull up these extremities here. We've got A and we've got C. Now there's another 3 bomb site map that was in the pool that's been pulled out recently, Haven, and you guys have probably played a lot more Haven. Maybe you have a better understanding of Haven. But if you remember, and one thing that I've talked about in my other videos is being able to draw parallels and similarities between different areas of different maps, right? And then understanding, okay, that's the same as this. It doesn't look the same, but the way that it's played and the logic behind how people play this area of the map is very similar, right? So if we just take Haven, for example, right, and we take A, so A on Lotus reminds me of A on Haven, in the sense that a lot of times what people are doing is they're peeking on defense. They go and they peek the A main crack, right, the A main lobby, and they'll smoke it off deep, and they'll breach stun it, and they'll Sova dart it, and they want to get info on whether or not people are able to cross, right? Same thing here on A. What we want to do is we want to shut down the enemy team from getting out of the A choke, okay? And we want to get people pushed up. We want to get people out to rubble, and all we're trying to do here is deny space, but we want information so that, a lot of times what you'll see this Omen player jump spotting this angle because they want to get info that people are coming back here, right? Now, if they see that people are coming back and they need to get out, they can fall back here and they can TP out, right? Now, it's not going to be that easy all the time, and obviously the attack side is going to counter that, right? How do they counter it? All the time you see this Viper wall, right? This lurk wall, or you see this Viper orb and you see this wall, right? Sometimes you'll see a Viper orb here, which I think is even stronger, and then you Omen smoke this instead, right? So the attack side is going to make it really, really hard for you to get this line here, so that you get early info. And again, the reason why you want this early info is so you can call people over to rotate properly, versus sitting on site with 2 players and then not being able to see what's going on out here in this area, right? When you bunker into sites on defense on Lotus, it's really, really easy for people to fake pressure on you, which causes your teammates to over rotate, and then they run all the way back and they go C and they go into an open bomb site, okay? And if you don't retake together on this map, it can be really, really brutal, right? And that's kind of the reason why it is such a hard map to play in ranked, because it's so hard to play together on defense. People die super easily on the extremities, or they just bunker onto sites and they lose all information, okay? So that's pretty much how the map is played on defense. You want to get this, you want to shut down this A choke early on defense, and a lot of times what you'll see is Omens do this one way and then they'll pull out their blind, or vice versa, they'll blind first and then they'll one way. You'll see Ray's nade come out here, you'll see Sky Flash come behind rubble, and then you'll see players get up into these positions pretty frequently, right? And you get Sky here, and then Sky can dog deep, whatever, right? And then Omen breaks the door, and then what you want to do after you get this A line here is you want to get your Raze player here, or rubble, or whatever, and then you want to transition into more of a 1-3-1, okay? And the reason you want to get it into a 1-3-1 in most situations is because it allows you to rotate properly. You have quicker rotates, number one, right? So if we just have one person on the extremity here, one person on the extremity here, and then we have 3 people on, like, towards B, and they don't have to be playing on B necessarily. I'm more so talking about, You know, you got Sky here, you got Raze here, you've got Omen here, right? And then who am I missing? You got Killjoy here, and you got Omen here, right? Something like this, and then you got Viper on C. Okay, this is a 1-3-1, 1-3-1. Okay, and wherever you're pressured on the map, you can rotate 2 people, so you can always get 3 people quickly to the site that is at risk of being hit, right? And now, so this becomes a 3-1-1, or maybe we would play more for info here and play in for info here, and then we would fall back, right? Or we would jump spot here and then fall back. So that's kind of what you want to try to achieve early round. So on defense, okay? Now let's get into Omen specific stuff. Let me get into the server here. So if we're going to start with defense here, since I've been yapping about it already, what you want to do is you want to get in position to Omen one way, A main, okay? So you Omen one way this, and this is actually not even a good one. You want to get it on the side here. So not directly in the middle. You can get it better than that. Let me get these to fade really quick, hold on. There you go. Okay, you want it as low as possible because the other ones they could kind of like fight under, right? So we get it as low as possible. You stand here with your blind, and then you listen. What you want to do, you don't want to just blind to blind, okay? Your blind is super, super valuable on this map, especially when you retake. And if you're playing at a high level on attack, teams are gonna be able to get into the sites that they want to get into if they do a good job of slow playing you and manipulating your rotations, okay? So what you want to do is you want to get in position to throw your one way, always get as close as you can to the wall to ensure that your blind hits as quick as possible. And then if you hear like a Raze satchel out, or an Omen TP out, or Sky Flash, or a Gecko Flash, you just rip your blind, okay? And then you instantly break this door, and you can come and you can get ready to fight with your team, okay? Ideally, at this point, your Sky is here, and your Raze is naded, and then went over here, right? And your Sky Flash around, okay? So we don't want to just throw this. We don't want to just throw this blind and then not fight with it, right? That's the other thing that you guys got to remember. Always try to have some type of intention behind your util unless you're using it for mind games, okay? So let's say we're using it for mind games. So let's say we Omen one way this, and our Raze throws a nade, and then we want to have Killjoy on A passive. That's viable, right? That's super viable. A more common one would be, you know, something that you guys have probably seen in ranked is throwing the one way, Sky flashing over here, right? And then we get ready for a C fight where Omen can blind, you know, we can smoke this, and then Omen can come and blind like this, and then we Raze nade off the wall behind the mound, and we fight, okay? So you can kind of, what you should aim to do on defense is condition the fact that you want to shut down this A choke early in the round so that we can get early info, and we can disrespect this Viper orb, right? And we can play around this here, you know, if they pressure you, TP out, and you leave, right? Or your Raze player satchels out, right? You can also call for your Viper wall up here. But condition the fact that we want to shut down A early on defense. Don't let them out early, and we always get the info here, so we can play 1-3-1. And then you get to a point where you can kind of read situations that might arise based on the ults that the enemy team has, right? So if teams have Raze Rocket, they're very likely to come Rocket C. It's just how it goes, right? If teams have Killjoy ult, they're also very likely to come C. If teams are one off one of those big ults, maybe doing a C fight, that mound fight that I said, right? Like, so this, and then getting ready to blind, like that's really good. So you want to anticipate the enemy's play, and a lot of times when they're one off their ults, you can put yourself in a good position to just kind of win the round instantly before they're able to grab the ult and use it, right? So you would use, oftentimes what people do is they use the tap of the orb here as a trigger for their defensive trap play, right? So, you know, you can always make sure you're holding tab and looking at the money and looking at the ults. And if you notice that Raze or Killjoy or even Sky are one off an ult, let's go try a mound fight. You know, you'll be surprised how many times they actually come that way. And if they don't, guess what? You can flank through, or you just play full retake, okay? Let's talk about some other things on Omen here. So Omen is also super good when you're playing a little nested on A, so if you get pushed off A, it's not the end of the world. There's some really good things that you can do. You can one-way this. One-waying this when the door is opened. So a lot of Omen players will just sit here, right? And they'll wait for the door to open. And they'd hit this, and then they hold like this. If they get Omen blinded, you can jump away, and you can Omen blind back, and you can take the space back, okay? Now, I've talked about this concept of denying the choke and counter-utiling. If teams use their dog, it's a really good opportunity to Omen blind. If teams use their Omen blind, it's good to Omen blind back. If teams use their Raise Nade or their one of their ults, it's always a good idea to use the blind to try to get them to deviate away from their initial plan. Force teams to react and make decisions in the moment, and more often than not, they'll make mistakes. And at the worst case, you're baiting out some of their utilities so they have less util to play the round out, okay? So being able to smoke here one way, obviously super strong. Being able to smoke this is super strong. And yeah, even playing backside is OP too. Like you can blind counter util this, you can counter util this. But yeah, for the most part, defense is relatively simple if you go with those, like the core idea of trying to shut down A, get into a 1-3-1, and then just like if you get nested, make sure you're counter utiling and trying to force people away from coming to your side, right? Let's see, what else can I talk about? All right, other one ways that I think are pretty solid. Lots of teams throw this on defense. Let me see other one ways on defense. You can throw this for your teammates who are playing on B. It can be really solid, right? This here. I guess one thing that I could talk about is how you should approach playing for retake on this map. Generally, teams will tell you what they want to do, and it's kind of a comp specific thing. If you're playing against a team that has 4 mollies, a lot of the time you should not be looking to play for retake. You want to play more scrappy. You want to fight them. You want to deny them this choke. Don't let them get out, and then you want to fight them before they get the bomb down, basically. Okay, and the way that you do that again is make sure you get into this 1-3-1 setup so you can rotate properly and try to fight them before they get the bomb down, right? If you're playing 3 towards A and then teams just go C instantly, it can be tough. You always got to make sure as Omen that you're aware of how your team is playing on the map, right? And you're aware that your C player likely needs support, even if you're going for an A fight. So after you do this smoke and this flash, right, you still got to be ready to run over and smoke C, right? Make sure on C that you're getting a good smoke. You're not getting one that pops out super, super deep, because again, if you do a smoke that pops out deep, like this, for example, right, like here, one, it could potentially block the Killjoy turret, right, giving them space to creep out, but then also they have the ability to quickly scale right, quickly come out of the smoke to the left, you know, TP here, whatever, right? So make sure we're getting good smokes that force people to stay confined in the choke when they run through it, right? So either flush with it or a little bit further back, okay? And then make sure you're just trying to rotate as quickly as possible and using your blind to counter util, especially against key pieces of utility like the Skydog, Raise Satcheling, the enemy Omen blind, right? Or any of the big ults, okay? Let me think about some other stuff here. Okay, proper smokes to throw in retake. So again, it's going to vary based on comp. Generally though, like you want to make sure that you have a smoke for tree. Okay. But against teams that have double mollies, a lot of the time sometimes it's worth smoking this and fighting these guys that are here and pinching with your B players through mini door or hobbit, and killing these guys that are playing mollies out here, right? Or even playing to flank. Okay, it's the most annoying thing in the world to just play against a Viper who's just Viper mollying this, right? You know, just peeking and jiggling and being annoying, right? So you got to read the enemy's comp and see what their win condition is. If their win condition, if they've played, let's say they've played 6 rounds and they've played mollies like 4 out of the 6 rounds, then you need to adjust the way that you're retaking, right? And it's your job as Omen to tell your teammates how you're going to use your smokes to help them fight certain areas, okay? So if a team's not playing mollies and they're playing more nested on site, then it makes more sense to smoke off tree, right? Smoke off tree, Omen blind default, right? Get out and go fight, right? One other thing that's important on retakes is being able to identify whether or not you should smoke off the choke or smoke off the bomb. And that's really not the easiest thing to determine in the moment, and you'll get better at it situationally as time goes on. But like a lot of the times, like in retake, smoking this can be kind of grief. But if it's early enough in the retake and you smoke it, it's good because it allows your teammates to get out of the chokes, right? But if the bomb is planted here, the bomb is planted here and there's 10 seconds left in the round and there's 2 guys alive in main, smoking this doesn't make sense because they can just spam you, right? So what you want to do is you want to smoke the bomb, get on it, and then have your teammates fight these guys when they try to go for the spam. We don't want to block their vision. We don't want to give them a smoke to play behind when they can just ping the bomb. You know what I mean? So understanding that on Omen is also super important. That's something that I probably should have talked about in the Ascent video, right? So same thing here. If bomb is planted here, it doesn't really make a ton of sense to, if there's, let's say there's 12 seconds left in the round, and you know that these guys are playing for mollies, it doesn't make sense to smoke this because you want your teammates to run out and fight these guys. It makes far more sense to smoke something like this and then get on the bomb and have them guess, you know, if it's planted here, have them guess if you're here or if you're here or whatever, right? And then having your teammates fighting in front of the smoke, okay? So communicate to your team what you're smoking, if you're smoking the spike, if you're smoking off the choke, and really it should depend on how many people are alive, what kind of comp they're running, and then also how much time is left on the spike before it explodes, okay? These are pretty much the fundamental things on defense. Really just try to be in a good position. Okay, so if I just go over everything really quick again, focus on shutting down this A lobby choke early and often, condition it, and get it to the point where you can just throw your smoke. And early in the half, I think it's okay to use your Omen blind. Show the other team that you're willing to shut down this choke with the Omen blind. It'll force them to be hesitant about coming out early, right? The Raze won't have the confidence to satchel out anymore if he keeps getting if he gets Omen blind 2 times in a row. That third round, he's gonna sit back and wait for the Omen blind, and then guess what? Your Omen one way comes in, and you guys can come up here and use less utility than you would, or than you have in the previous rounds. You know what I mean? So condition shutting down this choke, right? And deny the A lurk, the Viper lurk, and then transition into 1-3-1. And then try to make sure you're always holding tab and try to identify situations where teams might go C to grab the orb. And on those rounds, you want to put yourself in position to be close here, smoke yourself off, and then get ready to go for a C fight off of the orb tap, okay? Always have a trigger for your play. And then the last 2 things, use your Omen blind as a way to stay alive, but a way to counter these main pieces of util, the Skydog, Raze using his nade or satcheling, and then also the enemy Omen blind, okay? Or any of the ults, okay? Those are the main things. If not, I think typically saving it for retake, or if you have obvious situations where you can get kills with it, then just use it, okay? But blindly using it just to use it doesn't make a lot of sense unless it's early on in the half and if you're sold on the fact that you need to shut down this A line, you can use it at the start of the round, okay? The last thing is going to be communicating your smokes, how you're going to use them, right? And then also understanding that you can use the smokes to force the enemy team to use util to come through, right? Like nobody's gonna dry walk through this one way. You know what I mean? They're gonna have to pop the Viper Orb. They're gonna Sky Flash. They're gonna throw a Raze nade. You know what I mean? So use these smokes as a way to win out the util trade, And then also communicating in retake how you're going to use your smoke. If you're going to smoke the choke, remember early on in the retake, it's good to smoke the choke because it allows your teammates to scale out into sight, eliminating a lot of crossfires or contact setups. Contact setup would be somebody playing here, and then this person swings here, or you know, one person here, and then this person's ready to swing here, or ready to Omen blind here off the contact, and then they swing, right? So by using smokes, you're able to break a lot of these setups. And there's really just a lot of common ones that you can think about, but typically the most advantageous thing for you to do early on in the retake is to smoke off the choke, the main choke, right? And the main choke in this case will be main. In C, it's going to be like main here. Although sometimes it makes a little bit more sense to on C when you're retaking C, if it's early on in the round, to kind of smoke somewhere in this area because it breaks a lot of the contact setups. It allows you to get. It allows you to kind of scale out here, right? Scale out like this, clear this. It allows you to come out spawn, and it breaks a lot of these contact crossfires, right? And then later what you would do is you would either make a decision to smoke the spike or you smoke the choke, right? So C is a little bit different, mainly, and that's just because it's really hard for people to play off of their teammates that are over here if they're in this area, okay? B, you'd be smoking this main choke. And then A is just going to depend on how you want to retake. If you're coming heavy out heaven, you can smoke tree, right? If you're coming through stairs, you smoke here, or here if you want to fight these double molly players, right? These double molly comps, okay? That's pretty much it on defense. And then on attack, it's not always Omen that's doing this, but this is very important. Typically, because of the way that I explained you guys should play defense, there's always some player on the enemy team that is listening for the enemy utility in a lobby, okay, without even going out. So what's one thing that Omens do frequently is they come here, they fake a TP, and they listen to see how many pieces of enemy util, defender util, are thrown at them, okay? This is very, very important information because it allows you to have a reactive play, right? And every team should have protocols based on this, right? So protocol that my team had back in the days, if we hear 3 pieces of util, we instantly speed up, take the C orb, and then try to break some type of mollies, or we'll open the door, we'll smoke this off. We used a Viper smoke like right here. We smoke this off, we open the door, we grab the orb, and then we clear front B, right? And then at that point, they need to rotate around the map, and then now there's likely only one guy here on an island playing this extremity, and then at that point we would pop our Viper wall and then walk out, or we would Omen smoke this, and you play the round really slow. So on attack, it's very advantageous to play the rounds slowly and try to get these teams to over rotate to one site. But if you see an opportunity, and the opportunity here is, okay, I heard 3 pieces of utility thrown towards me at A, and really the key thing here, guys, is that like an Omen one way is not counted as a piece of utility. It needs to be a piece of utility that they throw from close, so they need to be in proximity of where you're at, right? So an Omen smoke doesn't count because the Omen could be playing over here, right? But what does count? The Omen blind. So if the Omen blind is here, and then my raise nade's here, and then my sky flash is behind rubble, I know that there's 3 people towards A, even though this person's technically in B. If you just draw the map, you know, you cut a line here, they're basically on the A side of the map. So that if you draw it in thirds, right, here and here, they're towards the A side of the map, right? But they're able to rotate relatively quickly. But the other thing that you need to keep in mind, even if they rotate, they lost their most valuable piece of utility to counter our hit, right? So if we know 3 people are over here on A, we want to make sure that we get some value out of that information. And how do we do that? We instantly speed up, we grab the orb, we try to break Killjoy mollies, bait out Viper mollies, we open this door, we try to break the turret, whatever, right? Because we know that we could do it safely, because there's not going to be numbers, or there's not going to be a lot of agents protecting the util, okay? And that's really the big thing, right? So yeah, Omens a lot of the time will smoke here. And again, you're smoking here. Why? The things that you should be doing on defense, you should be thinking about ways that you can counter that as Omen on attack, right? So, okay, if we believe that this A line is really strong and one-waying this is really strong, then you can smoke this, right? And you can kind of get out. You can disrespect it, right? You can TP out. You can fake a TP. If you fake a TP, they never really know if you're out here unless the sky flash hits, right? But maybe if you fake a TP 2 or 3 rounds in a row, that 4th round you can actually take it. If you notice that rounds 2 and 3 they didn't throw a raise nade here, you know what I mean? Little things like that will help you, right? So conditioning the TP. If I was an Omen player in ranked, I would pretty much always start A. I would start faking TPs and I would smoke off this choke, and then I would be counting the amount of utility that comes in. Okay. Okay, let's talk about C. Okay, things that you can do as Omen on C. Lots of teams throw this one way, and they do it with a sky flash. They'll just sky flash out into mound. Sometimes they fade eye or whatever, and this allows you to kind of just run out and take the space here. Okay, it allows you to grab the orb because nobody in their right mind is going to go fight this, right? Because they will die. And so yeah, you can default towards A or you can default towards C. I think, in my personal opinion, the information that you gain over at A is so valuable on this map and tells you how you should be playing attack side, right? So typically, like, if you're playing in ranked and nobody wants to be over towards A, I would suggest that you just go listen at A, right? If you have a Viper player that's lurking A, make sure your Viper player is communicating how many pieces of util they have, because it allows you to speed up towards C. Like, and another thing that's important, let's say you hear 3 people over towards A, right? They raise nade, sky flash, Omen blind. You actually shouldn't throw this one way, right? The reason why you shouldn't throw this one way is because eventually, if you wanted to speed up, you're going to have to run through it, right? Unless you scale against this wall, which is not great. So you're going to have to run through it, right? You should just understand that, oh, there's 3 at A. We can just speed up towards C and grab this orb. And if we really want to, you can smoke here. And we could smoke here. Again, you should be smoking spawn first and then smoking this one. And then we can blind, right? The most common blind is going to be this one. But really just think about ways to pair your blind with the raise nade. So if my raise nade's here, I can blind this, right? So I'm pairing our util here. So we get 1, this guy is going to get naded. He's either going to have to swing or he's going to have to run into my blind, right? And in that case, maybe you have somebody top mound who's ready to shoot this guy when he leaves, or he has to tuck here, right? The other thing that you can do a lot of the times is blinding here. This is also another one. Another thing too, guys, is oftentimes if you know that there's 3 people towards A, sometimes you can hold your blind. And what's one thing that we've been talking about, using the blind as a piece of counter utility on defense. But when you get to spike down, you can really think of yourself as a defender, right? Because now you're defending the site against the people that are trying to retake, right? So using this blind as a piece of counter util is super strong. Okay. Really, the last thing I want to talk about for Omen is, again, just reiterating the fact that it's important for you to be with the pack when you're hitting, because your Omen blind is so strong. So even if you're starting A early, that, you know, ideally your team's not just rushing C all the time, right? Ideally, that's why you have your Viper do it, right? Not you do it. But I think in ranked, it's important for somebody to do it. And if you position yourself in this area and you get really good at reading the amount of, like, the info and figuring out ways to make good calls off the info, you're going to win a lot of rounds on this map, right? So the idea of being a scaler is super important on Omen, okay? 1, because you can TP in, you can beat the Viper orb, you can beat the Viper molly, right? If the dog goes in and sees nothing, right, and you flash this, have the confidence to TP up here. This spot is insane for Omen now, right? And Retake holding this is really strong. You can throw this one way, right? And you can hold this. This is really strong to hold, right? Even your players here can kind of play around it, right? So getting in this position is super strong. And honestly, saving your paranoia and waiting for the retake is super strong too. You can be tucked here. You can blind this when they come out. You can blind water. You can smoke this off, right? Playing up here is really OP, and it's something that I suggest you guys do. And the other cool thing is, like, when you actually hit this TP, if you make sure that you nade this and you blind this, you TP here and you're not at risk of getting shot, right? Maybe you can see, maybe there's a world where they see you here and they shoot you. So it's important to make sure you get this smoke down first. But Playing up here is really, really OP in post plant, okay? So let's make sure you guys are getting reps doing that. Use your verticality, okay? Yeah, let me think. Let's talk about B for a sec, and then we'll talk about A smokes, just common ones to throw an attack. And then I think that's pretty much it for this video. Again, just make sure, same thing, a lot of the stuff that I talked about in the Ascent video will apply to basically any map on controller, okay? Make sure you're communicating how many smokes you have. If you don't have 2 smokes, tell your team to slow down. But also understand that a lot of these sites you can still take with one smoke if you use your blind properly, right? So what I mean by that is, let's say we wanted to go towards B. I would smoke here and then blind heaven, right? That makes sense? Because, and I want to make sure that I'm blinding a little bit of this side because the guy's going to be holding here. I don't really need to blind on this side, right? So you want to blind like this on this line, right? It's okay to not have 2 smokes all the time, but make sure you're communicating to your teammates, right? Make sure they're waiting for your blind, right? Other thing that's sometimes important is actually just smoking like this, and then having your killjoy throw a molly here, right? Actually, sorry, even further left. You don't even want to give this guy a little gap. So flush with the wall here, right? So that they can't sit in the smoke and spam you. Okay? You make them use util to come out here, and then blindly just have to fight you, right? But yeah, typically on B, you're gonna be smoking heaven, and you're gonna be smoking either here. I like this smoke better because in this smoke they can just sit there and spam you. Sometimes you're gonna smoke baby door. It's all gonna depend on the round, right? And you should be, as the Omen player, the way that you smoke should depend on the information that your A lurker gets early in the round if you do something fast. If your A lurker calls that there's 3 towards A, guess what? You should smoke baby door, and you should smoke heaven. Okay? Do this, and then you can blind like that, right? Or your teammates can molly this, right? And maybe we decide that we want to fight aggressively into C-Link now, into Waterfall C-Link, because we know that there's 3 people towards A. If there's less people here, okay, maybe we can get this kill and we could take this space. And if we take this in post-plant on Lotus, it becomes really, really hard for these guys and these guys to retake when we can play the bomb from here and B main. Does that make sense? Versus just sitting in spots like this, or right? Where we can get easily flashed, easily naded, easily skydogged, and stuff like that, okay? And then let's talk about A smokes. Generally, again, so if you're playing single controller, using this smoke to deny vision, faking a TP is strong. If you're not playing single controller, you're playing double controller, generally I would either use this one way to get C control, or you could honestly just smoke deep early to pressure. Another smoke that's pretty good is you smoke like this. And really what this does is it denies the jump spotter here. Again, I'm talking about the extremities on defense, people playing for info. People also play for info from here, right? This is still pretty good info here. And a lot of people will jump spot from here, right? So this smoke that I just threw, I'll throw it again. This smoke sits here, denying this jump spot and this spot, but it also allows you to lurk. Well, what just happened? My PC just went white. Hopefully the video didn't break. Anyways, it allows you to play here, potentially lurk up here, but it also denies the vision, right? So, let me just see if I ruin my PC. Epic pen. I think it's just epic pen. Okay, I think we're good. Anyways, sorry about that. So you smoke deep, or you smoke this, right? And then you get in position to kind of go quickly. When you're scaling onto... Dude, what is going on? Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Okay, so... Oh, I think my mouse is just clicking. So you get out A and you smoke deep, right? Or you throw this smoke, or you throw this lurk smoke, and really your job is to deny vision. But when you're scaling onto site, guys, it's important that you guys open this door and you blind this angle if you're going through door, you're not going through door, you can also get in this position here and blind off of the Skydog. But this position right here is really good because you can blind sight, you can blind the door, right? You can blind heaven. Sorry, a little higher. And then you kind of just run in and you scale, okay? The last thing I want to say, guys, is don't be afraid to use your TPs to get into sight. Don't be afraid to TP here and plant the bomb, right? And then TP back out if you need to. And remember, you should always try to be a scaler, okay? Always communicate what you're smoking and what you're flashing, and try to tell your teammates to be patient. If you see them running in too quickly, you say, wait, I'm blinding backside, right? Make sure you have urgency in your voice, urgency in your comms. Super important in this game, and it's not talked about enough, right? It shows that you care, and it shows that you want to win, and it's one of those things that's really contagious, actually. It's funny how it works, and I know this doesn't really apply to ranked all the time, but I've seen it in ranked a million times where, you know, you start talking on round 1, and guess what? Your entire team talks, you know? So, yeah, good energy is contagious, and having urgency in your voice is also contagious. If you show your teammates that you want to win, they're more likely to show you that they want to win as well. Maybe I'm coping, but yeah, I don't know. Anyways, if you guys have any questions or want any clarification on any of the things that I discussed, feel free to drop them in the comments. Again, I appreciate all the love, the likes, subs, and all the follows on Twitter. Looking forward to making more content. I'm not really sure what you guys prefer, if you prefer agent guides like this, or if you like the VOD review more, the VOD review stuff more. I'll probably just keep pushing both, to be honest. And I'm looking to put out 5 videos a week. 7 a week is kind of a lot for me, but I think doing 5 a week is doable. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great day. If you haven't watched any of the other videos that I've put out, I think there's definitely some nuggets of information that can help you guys, regardless of whatever skill level you're currently at. But yeah, thanks again, and have a great weekend. You can be watching this any day. Have a great day. Bye.